Welcome to Our Highest Work, a podcast where we are gathering and sharing the best ideas for spiritually based business success, and where we are creating a community of wise and loving mutual help. My name is George Cow, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you today's episode, which is Stage 2 and Stage 3 of virtuous marketing. Now, if you missed Stage 0 and Stage 1, you can go back to the last two episodes that we've had, which is ourhighestwork.com/15 and ourhighestwork.com/16. That would be the beginning of the virtuous marketing series. Now, if you didn't get those, I think you'll still get a lot out of today's episode. I think these episodes, every episode I try to make stand alone if possible, so that wherever you are coming into Our Highest Work podcast, you can get benefit out of each of these. So let me begin with today's quote, which is this: "Do treat others as you yourself would like to be treated. Do not treat others in ways that you yourself would not like to be treated." And you probably recognize that this is the golden rule, the two versions of the golden rule, the positive version and the do not version. And I was just reading a bit about the golden rule earlier today, and I think it's quite interesting. You can go to Wikipedia and search golden rule and check out the incredible fact that just about every wisdom tradition, every spiritual path, every ethical tradition incorporates the golden rule in some way. And I think that is a very, very big clue for us that if we just keep remembering the golden rule and integrate the golden rule's values of reciprocity and love and mindfulness into as many aspects of our life as possible, we're going to do fine. And virtuous marketing is basically following the golden rule for marketing. For example, for a long time, I've always felt that when I go to someone's website and they're requiring that I put in my email address in order to get some content from them, or there's a pop-up, that says put in your email address, I've gotten less and less I've gotten more and more annoyed by that kind of interruption marketing over the years, and I've recently decided, in the past 4 months actually, to no longer require email opt-ins for people to get my best content. If I had been delivering this content, let's say even a year or 2 years ago, you would have been required to put in your email address to even access this stuff. Now, I'm doing my best to follow the golden rule. How would I like to be treated? Well, if I want to access information that's going to help me, help my life, help my business, I want to be able to freely access it. I don't want to have to email opt-in for it or even to pay for it. I mean, ever since the beginning of 2014, I have given all of my content for free now. I'm no longer selling content, no longer charging for it, no longer requiring email opt-ins for it. And of course, two of the questions I get is, one, well, George, how do you make money? How do you make a living doing this? I make a fine living just doing my coaching program. Remember, if you want to do authentic marketing, you've got to be clear about what you make money on and what you will not and refuse to make money on. Most people are clear what they want to make money on and everything. They want to make money on everything, and that creates desperation, and that creates a ravenous nature to marketers. And so I believe if we get clear on what we do want to make money on, what we're fine making money on, and actually limit that as much as possible, limit the activities to which we're going to make money, because we know as long as we get clear, all right, this activity will make me enough money to be happy. The rest of the activities I will do as much as possible as a gift and a contribution to the world. And by the way, that makes you very spiritually happy, and by the way, the spiritual happiness translates into physical health too. This sense of meaning and purpose in what you do every day. It's really all connected. And so, so the first question is, how do I make money? Well, I make money through my coaching program, and I do fine there, so I don't need to be selling all the time, which is what a lot of marketers do, right? And second question is, well, George, how do you then keep in touch with your audience if you don't send, if you don't require email opt-ins? Well, I keep in touch because I know how many people download my podcast every episode. It's pretty consistent and growing. I also know how many people watch my YouTube videos every episode, consistent and growing. And I know how many people are in my Facebook group who, engage on a regular basis, or at least I know how many. Facebook group allows you to see how many people, at least when it's relatively small, around a couple hundred or smaller. Facebook groups let you know how many people have seen your posts in your Facebook group, right? So that's how. And I think that it's more secure to keep in touch with my audience through the Facebook group, through the podcast, and through the YouTube, instead of, in the past, I only trusted the email contact. Do you see what I mean? So I feel like virtuous marketing is really a win-win-win for everyone. It's more respectful of one's audience. It's more respectful of one's soul's calling. And by the way, it also, I think, is much better for business in the longer term. So I invite you then to observe as you go about your daily reading of emails, your visiting websites. Observe what gets your trust. Observe what gives you a pleasant feeling of trust. Okay? And try to note down what did they do to generate a pleasant feeling of trust for me. What did this website do? What did this email that I'm reading do? What did this blog post do? What did this video do to generate a pleasant feeling of trust? And write that down and resolve to emulate that somewhere in your marketing. The golden rule. The other side of it is observe as you go about visiting websites, viewing videos, reading emails, what generates a unpleasant feeling of distrust, like, ooh, I feel like this person is trying to get me to do something rather than allowing me out of my own free will to do it if I want to do it. I feel like this person is trying to get me to do something. I feel like this person is trying to force me to do something. Observe the feelings of distrust as you go about your daily activities of consuming marketing, basically. And then if it's a widespread practice that's being done and you feel distrust about it, write that down and resolve not to do it. I am here to encourage you and to share with you that you do not have to do anything that gives you a feeling of distrust. You don't have to do it, and yet you can still be successful. Widely successful. I mean, as successful as you need to be to have enough of resources to be fully happy, to be fully content. And isn't that what we all really want, right? So today's content, we are going on and completing the Virtuous Marketing series. We're going to be talking about Stage 2, which is Referral Relationships, and Stage 3, which is Client Happiness. And just to remind you of what Stage 1 was, which was Offer Strength. Remember, the stronger your offer is, the more effective, truly virtuous and effective your offer is, the less selling and promoting you'll need to do. And then Stage 0, which is infinite generosity, and really virtuous marketing is founded on that bedrock of infinite generosity. And scalable generosity, infinite generosity in ways that you are smart about it, and while keeping personal boundaries and sustainability. That's very important, which is why in our highest work we talk about joyful productivity, we talk about time management. All that's important, because if you are not personally sustainable in your time management and in your energy management, you can't give more, right? So it's all founded on that joyful productivity idea. So anyway, before I continue and finish the content for this episode, I invite you to comment. I always so love seeing your comments on each episode. Even if you're just saying hello and saying that you're appreciating the content, I really appreciate seeing that. I'm looking at the live comments thread, and already I see Marilyn Taylor and Barbara Freeman and Catherine Mitch commenting and saying hello, and thank you so much, Catherine, Barbara, and Marilyn. Okay, by the way, if you're just listening to this and want to find the video page and the comments page, you can go to ourhighestwork.com/17, since this is episode 17. All right, so actually, before I even finish the stage 2 and stage 3, I want to answer some questions that were posted that I hadn't had a chance to answer yet regarding virtuous marketing. First question from Kaye Williams, who wrote, she's trying to come up with her unique value proposition. I put it in quotes because that's an actual official term in marketing called unique value proposition. And what Kaye is trying to, unique value proposition is basically a sentence or an expression that clearly, concisely communicates what is the value one's product or service brings to the market and what's unique about one's product or service. So here's what I want to say about that. I really believe that unique value proposition should emerge over time rather than be defined at the beginning. So if you're even asking yourself, what is my unique value proposition? The answer is not try to figure it out. The answer is not journal about it and to look at other people's websites and try to come up with your unique. That's not, in my opinion, that's not the answer. The answer is don't give yourself so much pressure if you don't have one yet. By the way, I don't have one yet. I, George Kao, at this point, 6 years into my business, cannot tell you what my unique value proposition is. Sure, I can go on and on about the kind of value I give and the uniqueness of it, but I can't tell you in one sentence or even one paragraph. And yet I've had a thriving business since the first year in my business. You don't need a unique value props. Don't let any marketing coach pressure you into having to have a single statement. I really don't believe you need one. Many of my successful joint venture partners and other successful entrepreneurs, they don't have a unique value proposition. I think that some people start a business trying to come up with one they're happy with. Great, more power to them. But I really believe that it should emerge based on your work in the world. As you continue doing your work, ask your clients, hey, how would you summarize what I do really well and what's unique about what I do? How would you summarize it? Just tell me just in your own words. The language they give you is much better than you trying to come up with your own language because it's the language they give you that really resonates with them. You see what I mean? Or ask your colleagues in business just occasionally as you go along in developing your business. Hey, how would you describe the uniqueness of what I do? You see what I mean? So that's, Kaye, I hope that helps you and others who are feeling pressured about this unique value proposition thing. Don't feel pressured about it. Let it emerge. Second question I'd love to answer is from Tord Helsingeng, and he's actually someone who is currently in my coaching program. Thank you, Tord. And his question was about spoiling the audience versus delivering useful information from a place of fearlessness and philanthropy. I love that. Thank you, Tord, for mentioning that. I love this question because even just 2 years ago, I was teaching my audience, oh, be careful not to spoil your audience by giving so much free information that they don't need anything else from you. I actually hear this a lot from service providers who are so afraid because they say, well, I gave a free session to someone, and I gave so much value in that free session that they felt like they don't need me anymore, and so they're not hiring me anymore. So here's what I would say to this. If you are able to give in one session everything that you have to give them, your offer is not strong enough. I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but that's true. If you're able to give them everything in one session and you've solved their problem, your offer is not strong enough. If you, on the other hand, in one session, now, okay, there's a difference here. If in one session you give them so much that they think they have everything they need, and then they go on, the question I have for you is, have you checked in with them and see if they've actually been able to implement what you shared with them? Because if they haven't been able to implement it, there's further work you can do with them, obviously. If they've been able to implement everything you said and they're fine and they're happy and they moved on, your offer isn't strong enough. If they haven't been able to implement it, what I suggest is in your single sessions, you should be giving them. It's not that you're holding back, okay? That's not the thing. You're not holding back and just giving them a little bit hoping that they'll come back for more. That's the wrong intention. And I say wrong because I say that's a less virtuous and less effective intention. The intention is to give them just enough for them to work with effectively, so that they can fully implement that before the next step. You see what I mean? Give them as much as you can, but give them as much as you can that you believe they can truly implement without further support from you. That's a key. Without further support from you. Just like when you go to first day of a class, you don't expect a teacher to just like give you the entire semester's worth of information and say, good luck, I'll see you next semester. No, you want the teacher to give you just enough, as much as possible, because you want value. But you want them to give you just enough that you're not overwhelmed, but you feel like you have really energizing homework to do that you'll really learn from. And then after doing the homework and growing, you'll then come back for the next step that you can consume. Do you see what I mean? So the same thing about information. And by the way, this is something I'm learning. I feel like I look at my information that I'm giving as my legacy. So I tend towards making the mistake of giving too much in a way that's not truly consumable because it's overwhelming. So that's my learning. I'm trying to figure that out, right? And I'm telling you what I'm not yet good at, in hopes that you'll not make the same mistake as much as I do, right? Which is to give enough, because people, your audience, know far less than you do about the topic of your passion, the topic of your strength. So the little you think you're giving them is actually a lot for them. So always be observing what the audience is really able to pick up and consume and go, ah, that's the amount that I'm learning to give them. So it's really a learning over time, and I'm trying to figure it out. As you can tell, I'm always trying to deliver too much in every episode, right? Which is, I know I can already tell that this episode is going to be longer than I had hoped it would be, but I hope it gives you true value. So, but you know, on the other question toward about sort of even in the overall relationship with your audience, are you spoiling them by giving them, even if you're giving them consumable bits, are you giving them too many consumable bits so that they don't feel like buying from you? So here's the question I want to answer is this. I believe that information is going the way of free. Okay, I mean it's been happening ever since the internet was born, and I believe that's a more virtuous direction to go. Education, eventually in the future, better world, will be free for all. Free for all education. Okay. Same thing with my education. I'm trying to model that right now. Is I look at my education as a legacy. So I really believe that a business model that is virtuous, a virtuous business model, especially for information providers, should be one of guidance, one of hand-holding, one of customization, rather than one of information, solely information, that you can deliver infinitely scalable, in an infinitely scalable way. Does that make sense? So I don't believe in selling information products anymore. There is one exception, books. Okay, books, Kindle books, physical books, etc. I believe that you know, books are still going to be sold for probably another couple hundred years. Well, maybe a couple dozen more years until they become all free. But a couple of models I'll give you, a couple of heroes of mine that I believe are doing a really nice balance between giving everything they can away as a legacy and still selling books is Seth Godin, Godin, and Leo Babauta, Babauta. Just Google these people, and you'll see that they give pretty much. They actually, I believe I've seen both of them say that they actually give everything away. Actually, Leo Babauta, I know for sure. Leo Babauta does something called uncopyright, which means he invites you. All of this information, even his books that he sells on Amazon, are uncopyrighted, which means he says, take any portion of my books, as much of my content as you want, and do whatever you want with it, even if you sell it. Even if you take my exact book and call it your own, and title it your own and sell it, he's fine with that. Obviously, no one's going to do that. See, that's the magic of it, is when you are that heartfelt, when you are that giving, you have a lot of protectors. Your audience comes to your aid to protect you, and they will report if someone is doing something that's legit. And Leo says, hey, I don't care. I'm doing this as a legacy. Seth Godin does the same thing. Seth Godin writes a valuable blog post every single day. He's been doing it for more than 7 years. And so every single day he writes something, the most generous thought he can offer. Every single day he offers that for free. And then occasionally he will package up some of his best blog posts into a book. And the way Seth Godin says his business model is, his audience buys his books as a souvenir. They love all his free content, and then when he packages some of his best blog posts into a book, they buy it as a souvenir. And also, because he is so prolific in writing, he is discovered all the time by people, and people want to hire him to speak at conferences. That's the other way that he makes a great living. Do you see what I mean? And other people hire him for different projects here and there. Do you see what I mean? So those are my two models for that. Now, another question I haven't yet answered, and by the way, I know that Barbara Freeman and Mary Griffin both asked questions during this virtuous marketing series, and I believe I did answer both of them in the previous episodes, but let me know if you want me to speak more in depth on something. Shweta Parmar also asked a question, which is regarding testing whether one's proposed product has value or not in the world. How do I know whether my thing that I want to sell is going to be bought? And she says, I know we can do surveys of our audience. I know I can have personal conversations with people. But what else are there other ways to test? And Shweta, first I want to say, if you haven't yet done personal conversations with people, I'm going to be posting a blog post soon about niche interviews. So I highly recommend that you read my blog post coming up. I'll post it soon, this week probably, about niche interviews. Do the niche interviews, and that will be a great way to test it. Now, another way to test it, now I'll have to first say, there is not a single tool that I've seen out there that you can plug in your product and know whether or not it will be purchased by people. I don't know of any single tool out there like that. The best way really to know is to know whether other similar products are being bought and by people, and what the prices are, etc. And really, so the only way to know is when you're having personal conversation, try to have them with, yes, prospective clients, yes, but also have them with prospective promotional partners. Hear me out. What I mean by this is this. Remember I said the only really way to know to test your product is to see similar products that are being sold out there, similar services, and how well they're doing. So you really need to have a conversation with the people who are selling similar products, okay, or people who have audiences who are buying similar products, and talk to them and say, hey, do you think this thing will be bought by your audience too? Do you see what I mean? So that's really the best way to test it. But truly, okay, that's the best way to test it before you actually make the offer. But that's really the true way to test it, is to actually make your offer to people and see if they buy it. Even the most savvy marketers that I know frequently are testing their offers this way by just making the offer and seeing if people buy it. And even savvy, experienced marketers that I know sometimes make an offer in the market and their product or service or program is not being bought the way they thought it would, even though they're a savvy marketer. So isn't that interesting? So even the most savvy people have to actually make the offer and see if people buy it, and sometimes people don't. And sometimes people buy something that they didn't think people would buy. That's the only way to know, is to make the offer. And I do this all the time. I've made, just a couple months ago, I made an offer of a retreat. I wanted to gather my audience together for an in-person retreat. Not a single person bought it. I was actually kind of embarrassed by it, but I learned from it. And I keep doing it all the time. I make offers and see if people buy it. People don't buy it. Not when I say all the time, I mean maybe every couple of months when I launch something. People don't buy it. I know, hey, it's not really wanted in the market. You see what I mean? So remember, even savvy marketers like myself and others just test the market by making the offer. But before if you're so scared of being embarrassed about that, then you got to talk to people who have audiences who buy that kind of thing. Okay, so any other questions about virtuous marketing? Let me know. Comment on our comments page and let me know what questions you have. And I'm just looking. I do see that also with me are Deborah and Larry. Thank you so much. And I mentioned Barbara and Catherine and Marilyn as well. So thank you for being here live and commenting away. All right, now let me finish off the other two stages of virtuous marketing, and I'll go fairly quickly because I know that I've probably given you enough information to be digestible, but I don't want to drag the virtuous marketing series out yet another episode because I have an interview, actually author interview, coming up in the next episode. So, stage 2 of virtuous marketing is referral relationships. I just mentioned promotional partners. Barbara Freeman, I saw in the comments page, called them ambassadors. Yes, ambassadors of your business, right? Referral relationships. So let me kind of give you 3 main points, the way to think about referral relationships. And what I mean by referral relationships is basically, imagine a group of people, imagine a bunch of people out there in the world who are referring your services to other people, okay? So the way I like to think about it is, what businesses are before your business, after your business, and complementary to your business? I'll say this again. What service or product comes before your service or product in the lifetime of the client, in the pathway of the client's transformation? What service or product comes before yours? What service or product comes after yours? And what service or product is purchased simultaneously or is having bought by the client simultaneously as yours? And so I invite you to brainstorm together. You can do this in the episode comments page for this episode, ourhighestwork.com/17. So what I invite you to do is to write a comment saying, all right, my service is doing this. Now, my brainstorm, really, you need to brainstorm yourself before you ask other people. So just brainstorm. Brainstorm means any ideas are fine. There are no bad ideas when you're brainstorming. So just go blah, you know, just, I don't know, my first idea is this, right? What service or product or program comes before yours in the life cycle of the client's transformation? What service, product, program comes after yours? And what service, product, program comes before yours? So I'll give you from my own example. My coaching program is the True Livelihood, coaching program. So I help people who are frequently kind of starting a new niche and wanting to create a coaching program from a new niche for them. So what comes before me in the transformational cycle of my client might be that they might have worked with a life coach or a career coach before me to get clear that actually they want to start a business. Do you see what I mean? After me, once they've built their, clarified their niche and having started their new business, what comes after me may be a more specialist marketing coach that focuses on Facebook advertisements. Do you see what I mean? Buying Facebook ads. So that could be a coach, a specialist that comes after me. And each of these are referral partners. If I go to the life coach or career coach who helps people figure out that they want to start a business, obviously who are they going to refer? Me, someone like me. If I go to a Facebook ads specialist, or other marketing specialist, to say, hey, who do I refer who's even trying to figure out their niche and create that foundation of a business? Oh, someone like me. Do you see what I mean? Before and after. And then complementary, who else during the lifetime of my client transformation might have bought something else? Actually, they may be working with they may have bought another business training program. Do you see what I mean? They may have bought a program about building an audience, or something like that. So it's complementary programs. So brainstorm in our comments page about what you do, what's before, after, and during what you do, and then ask others, hey, do you guys have any other ideas based on what I've just listed? And then watch the comments page for this episode, because you'll get all kinds of great ideas about who your referral partners are. Okay? The best referral partners are basically other businesses or other people or other organizations who are asked by their audience about how to solve a problem that you solve, but that person, that referral person, doesn't. So, for example, I'm just going to use the word, the name Susan. Okay, there's a person named Susan in the world, and Susan provides XYZ service. Susan provides XYZ service, but she is frequently asked by her audience, hey, how do I solve ABC problem? You happen to provide ABC problem. You happen to provide the solution and the hand-holding to solve ABC problem. So if you come to Susan and say, hey, Susan, I know you're probably getting questions from your audience about ABC problem, and that's what I happen to do. Am I accurate about that? And Susan says, yes, in fact, I do. Then Susan will be happy that you went up to her, because Susan will go, great. From now on, everyone who asks about ABC problem, because I don't do that, I do XYZ problem, but XYZ problems are related to ABC, so I'm going to refer them to you. I'm thankful I have someone to refer to that I trust. Well, meaning you start to develop a little relationship with Susan. And you see what I mean? You see how useful this idea is. So the best referral relationships, again, come from going to people who likely have an audience who are asking them about the thing that you do, but that they themselves don't provide for their audience. Okay? So brainstorm that too in your comment, and you can write as many comments on our comments page as you want. Brainstorm, who else? And again, this is before, after, and during. You're likely to be able to find people like that when you're brainstorming that. Make sense? Okay. And how do those people refer you? Well, they can refer you directly. They can refer their audience directly to your website for your services, or for a more easy way to refer people to you, you can volunteer to do a guest webinar for their audience, or write a guest blog post on their blog, or be interviewed by them in front of their audience, giving as much useful information as you can about ABC. Do you see what I mean? Okay. So let me know if that's helpful. And I'm going to give you a moment to digest that while I'm looking at the comments coming through. Thank you so much, Barbara and Deborah, for actively commenting today. Really appreciate that. Okay, let me go on to the second key to referral relationships, is to keep continuing. This is a work in progress. Keep improving the referability of your services and your content. Referability of your service and content. So how do I mean by that? First, let's talk about services. The referability of your service, first and foremost, comes from whether your offer is strong. If your offer is a great one, obviously it's going to be much more naturally referred. And I covered 20 ways to make your offer stronger in the previous episode, ourhighestwork.com/16. Now, another way to make your service more referable is to have to make it more memorable. And how do you make it more memorable? Try to come up with some kind of tagline. Maybe the tagline is in the form of a question. A tagline that communicates a core value that you deliver. Now, maybe I'm talking about your unique value proposition already here, right? I'll just be honest and say that I don't even have a tagline. So don't worry about that if that's hard for you to do. But if you're a wordsmith, if you love coming up with taglines, well, come up with a tagline that is fine for now, and the tagline will just keep getting better over time. So don't get stuck on the tagline. If you can't come up with a tagline, just move on like I did. Forget the tagline. But if you're a wordsmith, you enjoy taglines, come up with something that works for you right now, and then get better over time. So if you were to force me to come up with a tagline right now for my business, I might say something like, I deliver right livelihood coaching for people who are tired of hyped up marketing. Or actually even better to say, I help coaches create coaching programs and they want to do it with virtuous marketing. See, my tagline sucks, but anyway, something memorable, okay? So simple tagline. Another way to make it more memorable, is your service more memorable, is to always get clearer and clearer about what problem your service solves. This is really one of the 20 ways to make your offer more strong. But let me explain. People usually refer service providers to their friends when their friends are in some specific pain. Let me say this again. Your service will be referred by people to their friends if the referrers, the middle party, the people who are referring their friends to you, if the middle party is clear about what problem or pain you help people through. Because if they're clear about that, when their friends are in that problem or pain, they're going to refer people to you. Do you see what I mean? Or it could be like a really urgent and important goal you help people solve. When they find that their friends have that urgent, important goal, they'll say, oh yeah, that's right, Barbara does that. Oh, that's right, Deborah does that. So the more specific you can be about the problem that you solve or the urgent, important goal you help people achieve, and the more you can clarify that for referring parties, the more easily people will refer people to you. Make sense? Okay. And about being referable, the other thing is, are you being visible? Okay, besides having a clear problem that you solve or urgent, important goal you help people achieve, are you being visible? Is your content being visible? And we talked about that in stage 0 of virtuous marketing, episode 15, by the way. It's to frequently, consistently share useful and always becoming more and more useful content, okay, and consumable content as well, as I've already mentioned. Consumable and useful and frequent. Okay, let's go on. Okay, so really the third point I wanted to make about referral relationships is that ultimately it's about true service. So if you were to remember one thing about referral relationships, just remember, it's about true service. If you develop that heart within yourself, come from that heart of true service, everybody you interact with, again, having time management here, good time management, but everyone you interact with in your business, your audience members, your referral partners, if you are truly trying to say, how can I help you? How can I serve you? And don't always just ask that question. That's the thing. Sometimes I get people saying, contacting me out of the blue, random person, new person says, George, let me know how I can help you. That's not helpful. That's helpful as a heart. I appreciate their heart. But do you see what I mean? If someone just say, Barbara, let me know how I can help you, it's kind of like random. But if someone were to observe my content, observe who I am, follow me on social media, and find out and make a guess at what they think they can help me with, to say, hey, would this be helpful for you? If not, let me know how I can be of service to you, because I really want to be of service, whether or not, no strings attached. That is a more helpful heart. Do you see what I mean? So if you're of true service to people, observing what they need and delivering what they need, whether it's clients or referral partners or audience members, you're going to get people referring people to you. Okay. I'm gonna share some links in the episode notes after I record this that I think will be quite helpful. So let's go on to stage 3 of virtuous marketing, which is client happiness. Client happiness. This is the most important part of virtuous marketing. If your clients are happy, it results in natural referrals. And if your clients are happy, it really builds your confidence and really builds your natural motivation and creativity about your business. So that's really the most important thing. And I say it's stage 3 because you're really building up to it. If you don't have any clients, then you can't even make clients happy. But at least you can make your audience happy, and that's what's really stage 0, infinite generosity, right? But stage 3 is about people who have paid you, bought from you, and you do your best to make them happy. And if you do that, you're going to have a really naturally good business. But let me talk about how to make clients happy. So I'll give you 3 pointers, 3 kind of tips around that. The first tip, the foundation of client happiness is clarity of expectations and clarity of commitment. Okay? And I do my best to model this in my coaching program, and you can actually see how I language expectations and commitment on my coaching program page. Go to georgekao.com/coaching, georgekao.com/coaching, and you can I actually put that page together whether or not people ever sign up with me. Plus I can only work with 20 people every 3 months, so I need to turn a lot of people away. But that page I created for everyone to use as a template for how they can create their own coaching program. So check it out as a template and as how I language expectations and commitment. And also in my application to my coaching program, I ask my applicants to rewrite the commitments that they saw on my coaching program page in their own words. Do you see how serious I am about prospective clients knowing what the commitments are to work with me? I'm serious about it. I make them reiterate that so that they can be clear about that. Also, at the end of my application, I ask the applicant to write down the initials of 3 colleagues or friends who would probably also really benefit from my coaching program. And I basically say, write down these 3 initials, because after the coaching program is over, if you get in and if you do the program, and if you're happy with the program, I'm going to remind you of these 3 initials and invite you and ask you if you would be willing to refer this coaching program to them. Do you see what I mean? So even in the you can do this either in your application to work with you or in the intake survey. They sign up to work with you. You send them an intake survey, and one of the questions in the intake survey is list the initials of 3 friends or colleagues. I aim to give you the best service I can. And if I do, would you be willing to refer people? And if so, list the initials of 3 people you would be happy to refer the service to if truly it is a good service. Okay? Okay, I'm going to give you links in the show notes, an episode page, notes page, giving you links to a sample. I basically took my application for my program and I turned it into a template that you can use, and I'll give a link there. All right, the second tip for client happiness is to follow your client's energy. I used to think that it was my job to mold my students, mold my clients to my worldview, to my methodology. And I've learned over time that it's, yes, you can mold people to your worldview, but it takes a long time. Before you are able to mold them to your worldview, you've got to be willing to mold your worldview to them. So follow your client's energy. Observe what they're energized by in your coaching. As you're coaching them, observe what they're energized by and mold your best ideas, your best resources, your best tools, your best exercises, your best information. Tailor it to what they're most energized by at that point. I could share, probably 500 bits of information with my clients whenever I talk to them. I don't have them all, on hand, but I could share lots of information. I always observe and listen to what they're most energized by, and then I bring the best of what I've got for that piece to them. I always try to do that, and I'm trying to get better at it. Does that make sense? So your job is to mold your services, your information, and your upliftment, your support to their needs and their energy. And the more you're able to do that, the more willing they are to come over to your side to better understand your side. Does that make sense? Okay, that's second tip for client happiness. The third tip is, are you frequently gathering feedback and observing your client's reactions to your services? Again, let me say this again. Are you frequently observing your client's reaction to your services and taking notes like, ooh, she really liked this part, or ooh, she didn't seem to like that part? Okay, and then besides observing and taking notes on what energizes them, what doesn't, what drops their energy, I need to get better at this too, of course. Are you also frequently asking for their feedback? And when I say frequent, I don't mean like, every 15 minutes, hey, how's it going for you? It's more like if you have one-on-one coaching, it's probably a good idea to ask them after each call, or maybe after every 2 or 3 calls, to say, hey, can you give me just reply? Because asking them for feedback is really asking them for their time. So they need to give you energy to give you feedback. So be frequent, but don't be too frequent that you are pestering them. So the way I do it is because I have a 12-week coaching program, right? I ask my clients every 4 weeks, hey, it's a third of we're third of the way into the program. Here's an anonymous survey. Will you please take this anonymous survey, because I can still make changes in the program based on your feedback to make it even better for you in the next 8 weeks. And then I do it again in week 8. Hey, we can still make changes in the next 4 weeks. Does this make sense? I will give you the template for my anonymous survey in the episode notes page. So hopefully that's helpful for you. So ultimately, client happiness eventually eliminates the need to promote your services, at least for self-promotion of your services. And that's what we're all going for, right? You don't want to sell, I don't want to sell, nobody really wants, okay, some people have talked themselves into loving the selling process. Okay, fine, more power to them. But most of us don't love to try to get people to buy something. And the more happy your clients are, the less you'll ever need to promote yourself. And so I want you to imagine 10 happy clients. Imagine 10 clients in your services program. They're so happy. And you have talked about in your intake survey 3 people, 3 initials that they'd be willing to refer. All right, you've served 10 clients happily. Now, let's just even say conservatively that half of those 10 people, 5 people basically, quickly refer the 3 people that they mentioned to you. Okay. Now pretty soon you have 15 prospective clients. And out of the 15 prospective clients, because they are thoughtfully referred by your clients, perhaps 10 of them will become your clients. Okay? Maybe 10 of them become clients. And you've got the first group of clients you've served, 10 people. Now you've got a second group of clients you serve, that's 20 people. Let's say then you serve another 10 group of clients, that's 30 people. Now out of these 30 people, you've made them happy, they will keep referring people to you, and eventually, that's what I mean, eventually it eliminates the need for selling, eliminates self-promotion. Isn't that wonderful? So that's what I'm doing my best to help you get to, and all of us to get to. All right, so let me end the episode now, and I invite you to, if you haven't already commented, remember to comment on the brainstorming. First, share briefly what problem or goal you help people with, and then brainstorm. Before you ask everyone else, brainstorm yourself what a before business is, after business, and a complementary business, and then ask, hey, based on these ideas, what else do you think? Okay, and I know some of you are watching live, and you can brainstorm this later, and I think that'll be really helpful for everyone. Okay. Oh, and in terms of the brainstorming, it'll probably be better if you do it in our Facebook episode page, because when you do that, the group sees it. Rather, if after this episode you comment on the YouTube page, I'll see it, but the group probably won't. So if you want ongoing feedback or ongoing discussion, it's better to do it on the Facebook. The YouTube is great for live commenting, and then the post-episode recording time, it should be done on the Facebook if you want more feedback. All right. So with that, I just want to wish you a wonderful week ahead, and remember to keep your thoughts positive and your heart open. Be well.